Hello children, welcome back to our channel, Bible for Kids. Today, we'll continue our exciting journey through the Old Testament, discovering another wonderful chapter in the story of Joseph, a man who faced many challenges but never lost his faith in God. In our previous story, we learned how Joseph, the young dreamer, was sold as a slave by his brothers and taken to Egypt. Even far from home, he remained faithful to God. Though he went through many hardships and was unfairly imprisoned, God blessed him with a special gift, the ability to interpret dreams. Because of that gift, Joseph's life changed completely. He went from being a prisoner to becoming the second most powerful man in Egypt, right after Pharaoh himself. And it's in this new chapter of his life that today's story begins. Joseph reunites with his brothers. After 7 years of abundance, when Egypt's fields produced plenty of food, came the 7 years of famine. Just as God had revealed through Pharaoh's dreams, the famine spread far and wide, not only across Egypt but also to the land of Canaan, where Joseph's family lived. Joseph's father Jacob and his sons began to suffer. Their fields were dry, and there was no food left. But Jacob heard that there was grain in Egypt, stored by a wise man, who of course was Joseph himself. So Jacob said to his sons, "I've heard there's grain in Egypt. Go there and buy some for us, so we won't die of hunger." And so 10 of Joseph's brothers, all except the youngest, Benjamin, set off for Egypt to buy food. They had no idea that the man they would stand before, the powerful governor of Egypt, was their own brother. When the brothers arrived in Egypt, they were brought before Joseph, who was in charge of selling grain to everyone who came from other lands. As soon as Joseph saw them, he recognized his brothers right away. His heart began to race. Memories of his childhood, his dreams, and that painful day when he was sold as a slave all came flooding back. But his brothers did not recognize him. After all, Joseph now looked like an Egyptian nobleman. He spoke their language, wore royal clothes, and had an Egyptian name, Zaphenath-Paneah. Joseph decided to test his brothers. He wanted to know if they had changed, if they were still jealous and cruel, or if they had learned the value of love and honesty. Joseph spoke to them firmly, just as a governor would. "Where do you come from?" he asked through an interpreter. "From the land of Canaan," they replied, "to buy food." But Joseph pretended not to believe them. He accused them of being spies, sent to find weaknesses in Egypt's defenses. The brothers were shocked. "No, my lord," they pleaded. "We are honest men. We are 12 brothers, sons of one man. One of our brothers is no more, and the youngest stayed with our father." Joseph knew exactly who they were talking about. The brother who was no more was him. Still, he kept up the act. He had them thrown into prison for 3 days. On the 3rd day, he said, "To prove you are telling the truth, one of you will stay here while the others go back and take grain to your hungry families. But you must return bringing your youngest brother. Then I'll know you are honest men." The brothers began talking among themselves, not realizing that Joseph understood every word. "This is our punishment," they said, "for what we did to our brother. He begged us for mercy, but we didn't listen. Now we are paying for our sin." Hearing this, Joseph turned away and wept. His heart was breaking, but he quickly wiped his tears and returned. He chose Simeon to stay in Egypt and let the others return home. Before they left, Joseph secretly ordered his servants to put the money they had paid back into their sacks, along with the grain they had bought. When the brothers reached home, they told Jacob everything that had happened. He was terrified at the thought of losing Benjamin. Benjamin was his youngest son, born to his beloved wife Rachel, the same mother Joseph had. Jacob couldn't bear the thought of something happening to him too. But as time passed, the food they had brought ran out again. The famine hadn't ended, so Jacob said, Go back to Egypt and buy more food." Judah answered, "Father, the man warned us plainly. You will not see my face again unless your youngest brother is with you. If you don't let Benjamin go, we cannot return." Jacob hesitated, but eventually he realized he had no choice. He prayed for God's protection and allowed Benjamin to go with them. When the brothers arrived in Egypt once more, Joseph saw Benjamin with them. His eyes filled with tears, but he hid his emotions. He invited them to his house for a special meal. The brothers were nervous. They thought Joseph would accuse them of stealing the money that had been mysteriously returned. But instead, Joseph welcomed them kindly. "How is your father, the old man you spoke of? Is he still alive?" Joseph asked. "Yes, our father is alive and well," they replied. When Joseph saw Benjamin, his youngest brother, his heart was overwhelmed. He quickly left the room and cried in private. Then he washed his face, composed himself, and came back smiling. He ordered a great feast for everyone. To test them again, he gave Benjamin a portion 5 times larger than the others. But this time, none of the brothers showed jealousy. They ate, drank, and were happy together. Before they departed, Joseph prepared one more test. He instructed his servants to fill their sacks with food again, return their money, and secretly place his silver cup inside Benjamin's bag. The next morning, as the brothers began their journey home, Joseph sent his servants after them. "Why have you repaid good with evil?" they shouted. "Why did you steal my master's silver cup?" The brothers were shocked. "We would never do such a thing," they said. "If any of us has the cup, he shall die." But when the sacks were opened, the cup was found in Benjamin's bag. The brothers tore their clothes in grief and returned to Joseph's palace. Joseph pretended to be angry. "The one who stole the cup will stay here as my slave," he declared. Then Judah stepped forward with courage and compassion. "My lord," he said, "please let me stay instead of the boy. Our father loves him dearly. If we return without Benjamin, it will break his heart. Please take me as your servant and let the boy go." Hearing this, Joseph's heart melted. Joseph could not hold back his tears any longer. He sent everyone else out of the room so that only his brothers remained. Then he cried so loudly that even Pharaoh's household heard it. "I am Joseph," he said through his tears. "I am your brother, the one you sold into Egypt." The brothers were stunned. They couldn't believe what they were hearing. Fear filled their hearts. They thought Joseph would take revenge. But Joseph reassured them gently, "Don't be afraid. Don't be angry with yourselves. It was not you who sent me here, but God. He sent me ahead to save lives during this famine." What an incredible moment! Instead of hatred, Joseph chose forgiveness. He saw that God had used his suffering to bring good. Joseph sent his brothers back to Canaan with gifts and wagons to bring their father and the entire family to Egypt. When Jacob heard that Joseph was alive, he could hardly believe it. But when he saw the wagons and heard the full story, his heart was filled with joy and gratitude. Soon the whole family traveled to Egypt. When Jacob and Joseph finally met again, they embraced tightly and wept for a long time. Joseph gave his family a rich and fertile land called Goshen, where they could live peacefully and have plenty to eat. God had turned every pain, every tear, and every trial into a beautiful story of reconciliation and love. Children, the story of Joseph teaches us something truly beautiful. Forgiveness is more powerful than revenge, and God can turn something bad into something good. Patience and faith always lead to blessings. Even when life feels unfair or confusing, remember, God has a plan. Just like Joseph, we can trust him, because he always brings good out of every situation. And that's the end of today's story, dear children. Joseph forgave his brothers and showed us the power of love, patience, and faith in God. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next episode of our Old Testament adventure. See you next time, little friends. And always remember, God can turn even our greatest pain into a blessing.